So Dennis, you're a financial planner, but we hear these terms all the time: financial planner, financial advisor. What's the difference between the two?
Well, they feel interchangeable, but there is a difference between the two. A financial advisor, in very simple terms, would be somebody who might be looking at a single transaction, and a financial planner, well, the clue is in the name. There's some planning going on.
Okay, so would you say advisors focus more on products whilst planners look at the bigger picture?
I think all of them are looking at a bigger picture, but in a different way. So an advisor will look at a product level, but you've probably gone to them with a specific need. You said, look, I've got a sum of money I want to invest. I've got some protection needs. I need to work on a pension, and they'll be looking at that in the round maybe, but they'll be looking at that. The financial planner is probably going to say, I want to do some planning first to see if those things are the right thing for you. So why don't we just go right back to basics and create some kind of plan? What do you want your life to look like? And let's start building the products once we understand what your money needs to do for you.
Okay, so you've explained to some degree, but if someone comes to you for financial planning, what does the process look like?
When I do financial planning, and there are more ways of doing this, but fundamentally you want to get some information. I want to understand the person, and I want to understand what is their vision. And typically that's a longer term vision than the next 3 to 5 years. We're really looking at a point sometime in the future when they're going to reach financial independence. So where they have some choices. So that's what I'm looking to do first, is understand that. And some of the other constraints or the red lines that they may have. Part of my journey may be that I want to put my children through education, or I want to have a home that looks like this in this place. I want to retire at a particular time. So to begin to build that, and to understand the assets that they already have, the income that they have, any potential inheritance that they may receive, and to start building a flow of money. And we talk about cash flow modeling.
Okay, and you mentioned financial independence there, because I think a lot of people think that financial planning is about planning for retirement, but is it more than that?
I think it is more than that. Retirement in a lot of people's minds is a point when you stopping work, but there ought to be a point where you can choose, because not everybody wants to stop work just because they can. We have this sense of purpose in our lives. I am beyond retirement age, but I don't want to retire. I love what I'm doing. And so I could retire, but I choose to work. And other people want to know, I think, ought to have that same freedom to say, well, yeah, I know I could do this, but I choose to continue working, or I choose to stop working and go into the voluntary sector, whatever it may be. It's just getting an understanding of where you are on that continuum.
Okay, so that's what financial planning is, but are there any particular signs that someone can look for to know whether they're getting good financial planning?
Oh, that's really difficult.
Mm.
But I suppose it's the quality of the questions that you're being asked.
Okay.
So if you're walking into an office of somebody, and the first thing they ask you is, how much have you got to invest, or X or Y, and instead of asking you, just talk to me a little bit about yourself, I think you might realize you might be in the wrong office. It is, the conversation is about the person. The money is a tool to get that person to have a fulfilling life.
So financial planning is about the person, not the product.
It's all about the person. The products, like when I do financial planning with people, when I go through that process, the products, the investments are the very last thing we talk about. It is getting an understanding of what that person wants to achieve and by when, and what the constraints are and what their values are. And for them to understand that, because when I then present them with a solution, it's a solution that that they are invested in, that they've bought in, that they've helped design, that they've helped create, so that the very first time there is a market shock when they're investing their money, they understand that that's something that they can live through and work through and not panic and not think, well, I don't even know why I'm doing this, which is, I think, what happens when you just accumulate financial products, whether it's online or through an advisor. If you just accumulate products without knowing how they form that huge jigsaw puzzle of your life, you are going to panic when things don't pan out quite the way you expect them to. But if there is a plan and you understand that this is how money investments work, you will live through those peaks and troughs because it's all built around your life plan, something that you have designed.
Brilliant. That's a fantastic explanation, Dennis. And so just to sum up, how can someone tell which approach, financial planning or financial advice, is right for them?
There's a little bit around cost to do with that maybe, but I think in your very young years, you've got to start building some habits first. If I start talking to somebody in their 20s about financial independence, they're probably going to think I'm a nutcase. Or if I use the word retirement, they've got, what does that even mean? So they probably just need to get into the habit of saving and investing money. Nothing more complicated than that. Life begins to get a bit more complicated when you acquire more assets, more responsibilities, bigger changes in your life and inheritances. And then you think, I might need a bit more help and guidance around this. And maybe there's just a little bit more to this money thing than I think there is. And I think that's when you need a financial planner.